Tonight, we are on the edge of something big. A major global story is unfolding at lightning speed, and honestly, the United States and Iran are on a collision course. We need to break down what's happening.
Okay, let's get right to the headline you absolutely need to know. As of this morning, a full U.S. naval blockade of every single Iranian port is officially in effect. This is happening right now.
So, what does a naval blockade even mean in real terms? Look, this isn't just some diplomatic slap on the wrist. It's a major military move. It means U.S. warships are now positioned to stop any ship, whether it's a giant oil tanker or a military vessel, from getting into or out of Iran. This whole situation just begs two massive questions, right? First, how on earth did we get to this point so fast? And second, the one everyone's asking, what happens next? That's what we're going to unpack. So let's start with the chain of events, how this all went down. The speed here is just staggering. I mean, just a few days ago, everyone was watching these marathon peace talks in Pakistan. They fall apart, and then, bam, without skipping a beat, U.S. Central Command announces the blockade. It went live today, April 13th, at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. The pivot from diplomacy to the brink of war was incredibly fast. Now, the details here are absolutely crucial. The blockade applies to ships from all nations trying to get to Iran. But, and this is a huge but, the U.S. has been very clear that they will not stop ships just passing through the Strait of Hormuz to other countries. You can see what they're trying to do. It's a calculated move to isolate Iran without shutting down one of the world's most important oil shipping lanes entirely. A very fine line. Of course, as soon as the blockade started, the war of words exploded, and the reactions were just as fierce as you'd expect. Iran's response was swift and furious. Their military didn't mince words, calling it an illegal act amounting to piracy. They're framing this as the U.S. acting like a rogue state, completely outside of international law. And then you have Israel, a key U.S. ally in the region. Prime Minister Netanyahu came out immediately with a strong show of support, saying they're in constant coordination with the U.S. and pinning the blame for the whole situation squarely on Iran. And this is where it gets really dangerous, you know? This total disconnect. You have President Trump on one side, saying the current ceasefire is holding well, but at the exact same time, Iran's powerful Revolutionary Guard is threatening that any vessel getting too close will be dealt with severely. Both of those statements cannot possibly be true. And that gap, that's where miscalculations happen. That's how wars start. And here's the ticking clock that makes everything 10 times more volatile. That flimsy ceasefire they're talking about, the only thing really keeping this from blowing up into open conflict, it expires on April 22nd. We are just days away. You know, this isn't just some abstract geopolitical game. The economic fallout is already hitting, and it's hitting hard, all over the world. The second this blockade was announced, the markets went wild. Brent crude oil, the global benchmark, blew past the $100 mark and hit $105 a barrel. Some analysts are already warning that if this drags on, we could easily see $150 oil. And it's not just oil. The shockwaves are rattling global finance. You look at the Asian markets, Hong Kong, Japan, South Korea, all of them took a pretty significant tumble. It's a huge red flag showing just how nervous this whole thing is making the global economy. And of course, this is where it hits home for so many of us. The average price for a gallon of gas in the U.S. is already at $4.12. And with this blockade in place, yeah, that number is almost certainly going up. So let's zoom out a bit, because this isn't just a U.S.-Iran problem. This is pulling in other major countries, and the whole region is on a knife's edge. Look at how the ripple effects are spreading. India, which is hugely dependent on Middle Eastern oil, has more than a dozen ships stuck in the middle of this mess. Pakistan has already sent F-16s to Saudi Arabia as part of a defense agreement. And China is now getting direct warnings from the U.S. Don't even think about shipping weapons to Iran. Big players are being forced to pick a side. You know, amid all this chaos, there is one small bit of good news. Remember those two U.S. airmen whose F-15 was shot down about 10 days ago? Well, reports are now confirming they're in very good shape. It's a rare positive note in a story that is just full of escalating tension. So this all leads us to the most important question. What do we watch for now? Where are the real flashpoints? Okay. We're watching three things like a hawk. First, that April 22nd ceasefire deadline. Does it hold or does it all fall apart? Second, the blockade itself. How will Iran or maybe another country test it? And third, the markets. Do oil prices settle down or do they keep climbing towards that scary $150 mark? The next few days are going to be critical.
Think about it. You've got military pressure, economic pressure, and diplomatic pressure all peaking at the exact same time. Everything is at a boiling point. And that leaves us with the one final, really sobering question. At this stage of the game, is there even a peaceful way out of this?